We're cleaning some carburetors out on the Yamaha yds6. It's been flooding and obviously the float valves are sticking, so I'm just going to have a look at the float valves, check them out. I've cleaned these carburetors out before, but it's obviously got a bit of grit in there or something. If they need new float valves, I'll order some. When you do anything like this, you need the workshop your area to be clean. So you put a bit of cardboard down like this, a bit of clean cardboard. It's nice and light outside here today, it's sunshine, so I can see what I'm doing. And also, when you're doing anything like this, it's important to have it clean, and if you drop anything you can find it, because when you're working with things like this and you're working in the workshop and it's dark, drop anything on the floor you can't find it. It rolls away under the bench. Whereas if you got something like this, if it drops on here, there's a good chance you're going to find it. And then you want a nice container to put all your screws in so they don't get lost, don't get dropped on the floor. Take the fuel bowl off, put all your screws in there, take the fuel bowl off. It's a bit mucky, probably a bit of residue coming out the petrol tank, and because it's stopped being run for a long time, there'll be residue everywhere. So I'm going to put some filters on the hoses as well. That's the float valve there. That's the float valve, and that should drop down like that and then lift up and drop. Now that doesn't appear to be sticking to me, that seems to be alright. So I'm going to test it now by putting a piece of hose on here and blowing down it and then lifting the float up, and if it stops the air going through, then you know the float valve's working. Just go and get a piece of tubing. Right, I've got a bit of tubing onto the intake there. Now, as I blow down this tube, the air should come out of that valve at the bottom. Now, if I just pull that up, not hard, if I just touch that up, it should stop the air coming out. That's fine. I'm not pushing it hard, there's like a little spring incorporated into this valve, and all you want to do is just put a little bit of weight on that spring inside there. You're not shoving it up hard, you're just putting a little bit of pressure on that spring there, and that should be enough to shut the fuel off. Now if it stops the air coming out when I'm blowing into it, it'll definitely cut the fuel off. So nothing wrong with that fuel valve. Right, I've taken out the float valve. All I do is just unscrews out of there. Right, just unscrew that out of there. It's got a little fibre washer on the bottom, and the valve just pulls out like that. It's got a taper on the bottom. That taper fits in a tapered hole in the bottom of the valve. It's really simple. The fuel comes in down here. If the valve's up in the bottom, it just switches the fuel off. And then as the valve drops down, lets fuel come out and runs out the bottom. Really simple. But it is spring loaded. If you look at this little valve at the top, you can see that. That's just like a cushion for the valve, and that's enough to hold that valve on its seat. Now, the slightest bit of dust, grit, anything on that surface will stop that valve from sealing. And if I look at this carburetor, just put these inside here so they don't get lost. Keep telling people always put things away. You can see inside of here there's a bit of there's like dust. I can see dust on my finger there. This is just old carburetor stuff. This is the carburetor kind of oxidizer or something. There's dust there. Well, that will be enough to stop the carburetor from sealing. But once it's working, once this carburetor's working, it's got the fuel running through and it's wet, it would kind of almost cure itself if you could keep it running long enough. See, there's all sorts of gritty. Even though I've cleaned these carburetors out, there's still powder and grit inside. I know there's a thing called ultrasonic cleaning. To be honest, I've never had to do it. I've always been able to clean them out sufficiently to fix them. I've never had to ultrasonic a carburetor. That's the main jet. So that you unscrew that out of there. Just have a quick look down the centre, see if you can see through it. If you can see through it, it's fine. So basically, there's nothing wrong with this carburetor. It just wants a clean and a run. And if you could run it for long enough, it would just cure itself. There's no point in putting float valves on, because they'd just do it again. Perhaps if you was having them ultrasonically cleaned, there'd be an argument for putting float valves in, but I don't know. This little tube here, that's an overflow tube. So when the carburetor gets full of fuel, if the fuel is running the carburetor, if the float sticks down and it overfuels, the idea is fuel runs down that hole and out the bottom here, and it should run out the bottom of the carburetor. The problem is sometimes if the bike's on its side, if it's on the side stand, it might not work that. You might have fuel running inside the engine, which is what I had. So you can't always kind of rely on that. But there again, just to make sure it's clean, just have a look down the centre. If you can see through it, it's fine. When you're cleaning carburetors out, just get a compressor. Just go down all these jets, all these holes, just blow any muck out or whatever. It doesn't look too bad at all, this. It doesn't look too bad at all. I just go and give it another clean, put it back together. And you've got a left and right hand carburetor. That's basically it. It's not to be frightened of. I had this these carburetors off this bike in less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. Another thing is that this I was talking about earlier is this little tang here. That little tang there. That tang there pushes on a float valve. That little tang there, when it's going up and down, that little tang pushes on there like that. So when the float comes up, that little tang pushes on down, it shuts the fuel off. So there's two things you need to know. Is you need to know the height of the fuel bowl. So when this is in its off position, when it's shutting the fuel off, there'll be a measurement from there to the top of here. So you want that in the off position. You don't want it in the off position when the float's down there, or whether it's up here, because if it's in the off position there, it'll be over fueling, and if it was down there, there won't be enough fuel in it. So this wants to be around about horizontal, and there will be a specific measurement, probably from the top of here to that front face there, and the adjustment is just bending. All you do is bend that to give you more, either higher or lower fuel level. But I'm pretty sure these are okay. See, there's bits of green on it, even though I've cleaned these carburetors out and I've given them a good cleaning and blowing out and everything. When they dry off, they end up with this like powder on, and I'm sure that's what causes this problem. Probably ultrasonic cleaning might cure it, but we'll give them another go anyway. We'll give them another go. Right, I've got another bottom of a milk bottle. Put some fresh fuel in, some fresh petrol in. Use this now to clean out the fuel bowl, the float and carburetor. So you got a nice paintbrush, good one, so as the bristles don't drop off it, and just give it a good clean. Get all this dust out and any residue. It all looks fine now. I can't see anything really wrong with it. Make sure there's no bristles in here when I've finished. It all looks fine now, so that can go back in there. Let's press this out of it. I like using milk bottles for these things and containers, basically because petrol doesn't affect them. Petrol is very aggressive on some things, it can melt containers, but milk bottles are very good. They're very resistant to solvents and stuff like that. And the other thing is they're cheap for nothing, so they don't cost you out. So that's nice and tight in there. Put a float valve in, make sure it drops and it's free. Put your float back on there. A little pivot back in. Now, a good way to test them, instead of sticking your finger, I showed you sticking your finger in it before. What's happened there? Missed it again. Come on Derek, shape yourself lad. I'm shaping wooden here. Shaping a bit wooden there Derek. Right, when that's in like that, if you hold the carburetor down, you should be able to blow down the hose like I said before. Now if you turn it upside down, that should be enough to stop the air coming out. So just the weight of that alone will shut the fuel off. That fuel valve is working perfectly, there's nothing wrong with that fuel valve. So I'll put this fuel valve back on. Oh, that's the height of the carburetor as well. You can see how this is level now. It's not pointing down, it's not sticking up. I'm pretty sure that that's the float level. Give you the level of the fuel in the carburetor when it's full. So I'm going to put the fuel bowl back on, assemble it all back up, do that one, put it back and then give them a try. So that's it basically. Right, I'm on the other carburetor and this is the one that was, I think, giving the problem. It was flooding. I tried the fuel valve before I took it off, turned it upside down, it was shutting the fuel off. But I've just took the fuel bowl off now, I'm cleaning it out. I don't know if you can see this or not. You can see that there? That brown. That's residue. You can just see it there, like rust. Can't see it now. There's like little tiny grains of rust. Now you're always going to get that. Always going to get that in an old bike, in an old petrol tank. No matter how much you clean them or whatever, you're going to get residue coming out. Now you can put a liner in the carburetor, in the petrol tank. They call it a chemical liner. And it kind of puts a sealer on the inside, a bit like paint, but it's not paint. I've had bad experiences of them, so I don't like to use them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some filter, like I said before, I'm going to put some filters on to try and filter this residue out, because that, you can just see how, I don't know if you can see that now on there, but you can see how it's dried off. You can see there's like, let's get the camera. You can see there's like little tiny grains of sand in it. Very fine. Now it's drying off now. That would be enough to cause your problem, to cause the fuel valve not to seal. That would be enough. And it's coming from the petrol tank. Although I have cleaned the petrol tank out, I have done it with electrolysis, I've done it with acid, but still stuff will come out, and that is what's causing the problem. So I'm going to put some filters on. I'm going to assemble all this back up and I'm going to put some filters on, and hopefully that's going to cure it. Right, so these are the filters I'm going to use, and there's a little it says out there and an arrow, so that is the out, so that goes on to that pipe, that like that. So I'm going to cut this pipe somewhere halfway, wherever is, when I'll get it on the back I see where the best place, but anywhere in line there. So I cut the pipe, fit that on, and these are extra filters. The bike's already got filters in the tank, gauze filters, but these are like these are much finer, like paper ones I think. So hopefully these will filter out any residue and it should solve the problem. Right, there's the carburetors, and there's fuel filter on one, and that's the fuel filter on the other one, fitted in line. So hopefully them now should solve our problem of getting this residue in the carburetors past the fuel valve. If you're ever doing a job like this, no matter what bike it is, whether it's on a Yamaha or Honda or whatever, I've done a few of these. The biggest problem is getting the carburetors off and putting them back on again. Especially, I had a Honda 250 Dream, it was a right COVID job. The biggest problem is getting the carbs on and off. Now I can do this on this bike. I've had these carburetors off in 10 minutes and I'm putting them back in about 15 minutes. The secret is these intake tubes, intake hoses. If these are hard, it's near impossible. You cannot get them back onto here. So what you want is these nice. They get like work hardened. They get hard over time, and they get like Bakelite. They don't seal anyway. But you need them like this. They need to be like that. Now these were rock hard. They were absolutely solid. And what you do is soak them in alcohol, rubbing alcohol and wintergreen mix. Leave it for about 2 days and let them dry out, and when they're finished they're brilliant. They're like this. Done it a few times. If you try and get that hose on there without getting these supple, you'd end up with black and blue fingernails and cuts and God knows what else, and swearing, and they wouldn't seal at the end of the day. But now I can just literally get that in there like that. I can almost do it one-handed. I can't do it one-handed, but you get the drift. You can get that on there. Anyway, you get the drift of it anyway. You can just push that up there and get it into position. Dead easy. Dead easy. I can put that on there in a couple of minutes. So do yourself a favour, if you're doing any carburetors, give yourself an extra 2 days, get some rubbing alcohol and wintergreen, mix it together, stick it in a milk bottle, stick it in, leave them for 2 days, get them out, let them dry out, and that's what you're left with. Makes the job 10 times easier. Right, I think this job is just about done now. I'll give it a ride after and see how it goes. Bye. No leaks, starts first kick. Hopefully we'll have cured it.